Joining me right now is CNN national security analyst Juliette Kayyem. She's a former assistant secretary for the Department of Homeland Security, and Cheryl Dorsey, retired sergeant with the Los Angeles Police Department. Juliette, you saw this new video it's exclusive to CNN as we were talking about it with Shimon. The police chief now says that he is cooperating. He is in touch with regard to the investigation with the Department of Public Safety, but they have said that he's no longer responding to requests for a follow-up interview. Can both of these things be true?
No, I mean, this is, I've never seen anything like this. So to the extent we can criticize the public safety response the day of the shooting, this is as a public information operation, right? These are well-known, established protocols. After any crisis, after any active shooter, you have a single point person representing all the different agencies that have been involved, who can validate all the facts. Instead, you have here you have a lot of different people talking about information we don't know where they got it from. So, the story about the door, why did we have an original story that the door was open because someone said that it was true, and now we have a counter story. But you also have DPS, the state, serving as both investigator and judge simultaneously. And I really, from the beginning, I've never understood the political nature of how the state is presenting itself, whether it was the governor being out in front and alleging statements that were just, making statements that were not true, to 2 days later having to sort of make it about him and defend himself. So you have the locals who are under attack, or maybe rightfully so. You have DPS, which I think is an unreliable spokesperson, and you have DOJ now coming in, and it's remarkably unfair to the families. Of course, it is not professional, because we know there are processes in place. And finally, it means that a lot is going to be left to reporters like Shimon and others with us and other agencies to figure out what in fact is reality and not. But I don't trust any of these spokespeople anymore, honestly.
And it seems a lot of people are kind of getting to that place. I mean, Sergeant, this discrepancy, I don't know, suggests what to you? Because is it getting to a place where it feels that officials are protecting other officials when the only people that should be protected right now are the children, the memories and the names of these victims who deserve to have true answers to what happened?
Clearly, they're further victimizing the families of these young children who we've lost unnecessarily. The governor is complicit. The mayor of that town is complicit. And the police chief, he's inept. He's intellectually dishonest. And we can't believe anything that they say. They are now protecting the organism, the entity, that department. And listen, I believe that police chief had probably checked out emotionally and virtually long ago. We know that he was sworn into their city council under the curtain of darkness on yesterday. And so he's a figurehead. He's a warm body on that department right now. And so what he's doing is only further exacerbating what already should have never occurred and is a tragedy of enormous proportion.
It's strange and surprising, really, to be quite honest. Yeah. I mean, Julia, the door, this element of the timeline and what was known about the day now changing again and being clarified with regard to a teacher propping open the door, but now it said the teacher closed the door did not lock. Is this a small thing, or is this something bigger when you have a series of wrong information kind of being put out there on what happened?
So, I mean, part of it is the natural progression of how we come to understand tragedies. I know that's hard for a lot of people who want the facts on day one, but I'm quite familiar with these narratives changing, and often they change not because someone's lying or because of malfeasance, although that may be true in this case, but because what one person believed to be true, it's like eyewitness accounts, ends up not being true when you hear other eyewitnesses. And so this happens very often, and that's why you want an objective, independent investigation rather than everyone, going essentially to their camps at this stage and lodging grenades, across this narrative and this tragedy. So that's one. The other thing is, and I just make this clear every time I'm on about this. This public safety response arguably, the worst that we have ever seen, although I think we will learn more, hopefully, to understand. The press and communication strategy is beyond unprofessional, unfair, and cruel. It's just cruel to the families at this stage. But the third piece is there's a gunman who had access to guns at the age of 18, and we cannot get distracted from that because of the total malfeasance, negligence, incompetence of that agency. So both stories have to exist simultaneously.
It's a great point. Sergeant, finally, really quickly, the state senator who represents Uvalde, Roland Gutierrez, he was on with me yesterday, and he said that he is expecting a full report by Friday from DPS on where each officer was and when. That is one thing that he says that he's asking for and demanding. He's also saying that up next, he's going to be asking for radio transmissions, because he says clearly you knew the children were alive in there. They were calling. This was not a barricade situation. And clearly communications broke down in a very big way somewhere. How important is this information?
Well, listen, it's helpful. I mean, we already know what happened. It will be corroborated by a formal investigation within that state and also with the Department of Justice. But what I would like to see as a result of these investigations is some teeth behind their findings, not just recommendations. Hey, it would be nice if you could do this going forward, but some real teeth and substantive accountability for everybody who had a role to play, from the officers who stood outside the door, from the dispatchers who didn't articulate information, and for the police chief who failed ultimately to act on the information that was known.
Cheryl Dorsey, Juliette Kayyem, thank you both. Appreciate it.